Happy birthday, Joaquin Consuelos. The youngest of the Ripa Consuelos clan, Kelly Ripa and Mark Consuelos' third child, celebrated his 23rd birthday on February 24th. To celebrate his big day, his mom, 55, took to her Instagram page with a collection of photos of her youngest from his days as a newborn, which she often refers to him as, to his tenure as a member of the wrestling team at the University of Michigan, Ann Arbor. Many of the photos showcased his early bonds with his older siblings, sister Lola Consuelos, 24, and brother Michael Consuelos, 28, both of whom are performers and members of the entertainment industry like their younger brother and parents. Several of the snaps also highlighted how the now brunette Joaquin initially inherited his mom Kelly's dirty blonde locks, with one photo of them sitting side by side highlighting how much he looks like his all my children. Happy birthday to the Broadway-bound newborn who is 23 years old today. Kelly gushed in her caption, "We love you, Joaquin. You are a bright light in this world." A live shout-out. Joaquin also got a sweet mention from Kelly and Mark, 54, on the latest iteration of Live with Kelly and Mark. The tiny baby newborn is 23 years old today. That is crazy, Kelly said at the top of the episode. Mark quipped in response, "Which means we are old." Kelly fired back, "Well, we've been old, but when the newborn turns 23, that's another level." The Hope and Faith star looked back on getting a scheduled C-section when Joaquin was born, joking that she was ready for this one compared to her first two births with wild labors and wild deliveries. As for Joaquin, the actress joked that she had her hair blown out and her nails done, adding, "He made me looking like a normal person. His siblings made me looking like a wild animal that had been through something." Broadway-bound newborn. 2026 is already shaping up to be an exciting year for Joaquin, who will be making his Broadway debut this March as one of the cast members of the revival of Death of a Salesman. The revival will star Nathan Lane and Laurie Metcalf in the leading roles. Previews will begin on March 6th at the Winter Garden Theater, and opening night will take place on April 9th. That's just 10 days before opening night for Fallen Angels on Broadway, which coincidentally stars Dad Mark. The Riverdale star will appear in the upcoming revival of the Noel Coward play, joining previously revealed lead cast members Rose Byrne and Kelly O'Hara. The show will begin previews on March 27th before opening on April 19th, ending its limited engagement on June 7th at the Todd Hames Theater. So every night, I'm going to have this choice. Who do I see tonight? Do I go see my husband, or do I go see my beloved son? Kelly joked on Live when the news broke, although Mark, always the proud dad, encouraged her to put their son's own Broadway debut first. Quick factual note before the story. Kelly Ripa shared birthday photos of her son Joaquin on Instagram on February 24th, 2026. And both Joaquin and his father Mark Consuelos are slated to make Broadway debuts this spring. Joaquin in a revival of Arthur Miller's Death of a Salesman. Previews begin March 6th. At the Winter Garden Theater, opening April 9th, and Mark in Roundabout's Fallen Angels. Previews begin March 27th at the Todd Hames Theater. They call the album Tiny Revolutions because every page turned felt like a small upheaval. Birth, sleep, the first feral cry that rearranged everything that came before it. The photos were loose in the pages, a newborn wrapped in hospital linen, a toddler with a milk-mustached grin, a lanky teen in a wrestling singlet, and through them all ran the same curious thread, a face that, for a while, seemed to belong twice over. In the corner of the kitchen where summer light always pooled at noon, a battered wooden table held that book. The table had its own history of stains and repaired legs, and it fit the family the way an old sweater fits a person, familiar, slightly stretched, utterly comforting. On a chilly evening in late February, after candles had been blown out and a chorus of Happy Birthday had trailed off into the hum of the refrigerator, Kelly settled into the chair with the album and a mug of tea gone cold. She didn't mean to show the pictures to anyone. She just wanted to remember, and remembering for Kelly had always been tactile. Fingers traced a photograph the way someone might trace a friend's cheekbone. The first photo she stopped on was one she'd probably forgotten she'd taken. It was small and slightly faded, the kind of color that used to come out of film cameras in soft applause. A hospital bassinet, a tiny hat, the blur of fluorescent light, and beside the bassinet, two faces close together, one a mother who had just been handed a piece of her heart, the other a newborn, eyes still glazed with the clarity of immediate arrival. In that split second, that first meeting, the resemblance was almost comic. The same square of chin, the same high, patient cheekbones, the same upturn at the corners of the mouth. Joaquin looked like a magnified copy of Kelly's own younger self, the clean, pale blonde of a woman who had spent a childhood in a handful of sunlit places, hair wind-roughened and stubborn as a promise. Kelly laughed softly into the mug in her hands. The laugh had lived in studio storefronts and late-night segments. It had become a sound cues and producers recognized. Tonight it was private. Broadway-bound newborn, she murmured to herself, remembering the caption she typed and erased twice before posting on Instagram. The word felt ridiculous and grand at once, a private joke that had somehow grown teeth and shoes and an opening night date. The album was less an archive than a conversation. Michael's wide grin in one frame, a boy learning how to be an older brother, and Lola's hair windblown in another, both snapshots whispering the same family rhythms, protective teasing, quiet alliances, the soft exasperation only siblings can afford. There, between a photo of Joaquin lifting a heavy backpack and another of him leaning on a wrestling mat, the arc of a life was visible, infant astonishment, adolescent bluster, the slow, steady commitment of rehearsal. He had been small in body and massive in presence. He'd been the one who would show up early, learn lines under dimmed kitchen light, come home smelling of theater grease and new friendship. Kelly paused on a page where two photographs had been placed side by side with a neatness that made them look like a mirror spread open. On the left, a newborn with a kind of hair that hadn't decided what it wanted to be yet, a pale tousled halo that caught hospital light and made the whole scene look as if painted by someone in a hurry. On the right, a grown Joaquin, hair dark now by choice or chance, standing beside his mother with the same angle of cheek, the same smirk at the corner of the mouth. You had to squint to reconcile the differences, but if you looked closely, the twin core of resemblance was undeniable. Those small human geometries that stubbornly replicate themselves across generations. Kelly remembered the day she'd framed that twin photo. It had been in the frantic, luminous time before Joaquin's first audition season, when even grocery lists seemed like stage directions. She'd told Mark, "He looks like my twin," and Mark, ever the practical romantic, had replied, "He looks like both of us and then some." Mark's hands were calloused from years of embracing scripts and characters. He'd been the family's sturdy narrator for as long as Kelly could remember. The way he said, "and then some," made the comment a benediction, a blessing for a boy who was trying on the world. There's a tender cruelty to family photographs. They tell you what you already know and show you things you had forgotten. The album had pages where Joaquin's lips were pursed in concentration as he practiced a line he'd heard in the car, where his knees were scraped from a fight over a neighbor's baseball, where he was propped in a graduation cap that somehow made him both dainty and dangerously present. Each image was a verb. He was learning. He was balking. He was becoming. Kelly loved the album for that restless, unfinished quality. It held both the beginning and the promise of more. When Joaquin was younger, the family joked that he'd been delivered with a head full of hair that refused categorization. "He met me looking like a normal person," Kelly would say on set, tongue-in-cheek, remembering her own births, the first two wild labors and wild deliveries, as she liked to call them, and then describing Joaquin's arrival as the calm, scheduled C-section she had arranged for the third. There was a private hilarity to that memory. The mother who had learned the choreography of chaos, now meeting her last child in an unusually composed tableau. In the months leading up to the spring, the city itself seemed to join the family's chorus. Playbills were printed. Rehearsal studios hummed like beehives. When the news broke that Joaquin would appear in a revival of Arthur Miller's classic at the vast stage of the Winter Garden, it felt both historic and perfectly inevitable. The play itself, an older American muscle that